to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music blessing and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today it is September 18th, 2025. That is, I think, exactly 5 years and 7 months, something like that, of Torah every single day, saying good morning to each other. Sandy and Tara, Penny, good to see you. Michelle, welcome everybody. I hope that you and yours are safe and well. My apologies for being late myself to get started, but it's good to see all of you here. Thank you, Penny. It is broadcast 1392. It is day 713 since October 7th. Debbie and Jonathan, Lydia, good to see you. Debbie, nice to see you too. Arlene and Barry, good to see you, everybody. Debbie, welcome, my friend. Dale and Amy, Anava, welcome, friends. Let's take a breath, sing a blessing, learn some Torah. Ya lai 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 lai, diddy I lai lai lai, diddy I lai 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 lai, I la lai lai, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah la'asok b'divrei Torah hafoch ba v'hafoch ba la'asok b'divrei Torah. Diddy I lai 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 lai, diddy I lai lai lai, diddy I lai 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 lai, I la lai lai. I want to start by saying how sweet it is that some of you are saying you're sorry that you're late. And some of you were also saying, I was concerned that we couldn't find our community. What an affirmation that this matters. Friends, I was running a few minutes late. My train came in late and I wanted to make sure I could have done this on the street. But if I had done it on the street, then everyone on Instagram I wouldn't have been able to reach because I would only have one device and one camera. So, hi everybody. It's really good to see you. It's broadcast 1392. Thank you, Penny, for keeping us on track. It is day 713 since October 7th. There's a lot going on in the world, including a shooting that just happened at the Allenby crossing between Jordan and the West Bank. It looks like the shooter was a terrorist who was hiding inside of a truck full of aid and relief that was going to be transported from Jordan to Gaza. And so for us to be able to see that incomplete amount of information gives us one more thing to tune into and to be aware of. It looks like there were two people murdered by the terrorist, and information will be forthcoming. Let's make sure that we add this to our list of concerns so that as we do some Torah learning, we pray, we work our way towards Rosh Hashanah, which is just a few days away, that we make sure to tune in to our people's heart. It's Parshat Nitzavim. There's a famous verse in Parshat Nitzavim, both famous because of its meaning and also famous because of some strange notations above it. Here's the verse: Hanistarot ladonai Eloheinu v'aniglot lanu ulvanenu ad olam. Roughly translated, Hanistarot ladonai Eloheinu, hidden things belong to God. V'aniglot, and revealed things, are ours and our children's forever. But here's the additional dimension of complexity, because we're not really sure what the verse means, given all those words, what is hidden, what is revealed. But there are dots written above some of the words. Lanu ulvanenu. Lanu ulvanenu, for us and for our children. Which means, friends, that if those dots indicate, as some believe, that the letters are supposed to be erased, then the words Lanu Vanenu wouldn't be there, and the verse would be Hanistarot Ladonai Eloheinu Vehaniglot Adolam, meaning revealed and hidden things belong to God forever. So here's an interpretation of this. It's not the only way to read the verses, and we're not really sure what the dots mean. In fact, there is a chance, as so much of tradition is often the way we evolve in our expectations as faith-minded people, it's possible that the dots are just a mistake. I guess it's possible, actually, that in some cosmic incident, a sofer or soferet of antiquity, back hundreds of years ago, someone whose job it is to write a Sefer Torah, the calligrapher, the very holy calligraphy that we call safrut, it's possible that some ink spattered and ended up creating a pattern. We don't really know, but let's say that those dots are there intentionally, and let's say that those dots are to tell us that at least in one theology, both revealed and hidden things belong to God. What would that imply? It would imply, friends, that we don't know anything. That hidden and revealed things, that's all God's. And we don't know anything. And I know that there are moments, especially these days, where that feels true. We don't really understand. How could it be that in the midst of all of this, 713 days after October 7th, whose second anniversary is coming up very soon, commemorations are being held all over the place. Neshama and I are going to be part of a commemoration on Long Island in that part of our world. There's a major commemoration happening in Manhattan. There are major commemorations happening everywhere, and important commemorations that wouldn't be described as major only because of how many people are expected, happening on college campuses, happening in synagogue communities, happening at JCCs. It's our job to stand in solidarity, not only in grief, but solidarity with the resilience of our people. How is it possible that 713 days later, this is where the world is? How is it possible that 48 beloveds are still trapped? How is it possible? So let's take a moment and think about the verse again. Again, the way the verse reads right now is Hanistarot Ladonai Eloheinu Vaniglot Lanu Vanenu Adolam. Hidden things are God's. Revealed things are ours forever. So instead of saying we don't know anything, instead of allowing the dots to erase Lanu Ulvanenu, ours and our children's, maybe we can appreciate the complexity that the dots are there, but they haven't erased the letters. Let's imagine that those notations suggest that we are supposed to erase the letters. Let's just imagine that someone had that intention at some point, and the implication being, we don't know anything. And yet the decision was made not to erase the letters. We don't erase the letters. We know something. We know that what just happened at the Allenby Bridge should not have happened. We know that countless acts should not have happened. We know that October 7th should not have happened. And we also know that given what we know, the complexity of the world that humans have access to, that there are many things we can address. The threat to free speech here in the United States, the weaponization of the institutions of the state, are a real thing that we have to name carefully. We have to be cautious in the way that we think about them. We have to be active as we think about any political situation in any part of the world that we inhabit. It's complicated, but the Torah does say that we're supposed to set up a just society, and the rabbis, who never imagined that Jews would ever have authority in a national way, still believed, despite how powerless they felt under Roman occupation at the time, that we have to pray for the welfare of the government, because if the government of the people, for the people, by the people. Of course, that's more modern in our articulation. That's the Declaration of Independence in the United States. But that we have to pray, says the Mishnah, for the welfare of the government, without which people would swallow each other alive. It's possible to imagine, God forbid, things falling apart. And how could you possibly imagine standing in the breach if the Torah were saying, you don't know anything? So we have to interpret. I'm encouraging us to choose no other way. I really don't do this when it comes to the words of Torah in most situations. But in this situation, we have a choice to allow the dots to erase human agency from our religious conscience. But we can't do that. Those dots are there to provoke our conscience. The dots are over the words, Lanu uluvanenu, ours and our children's. So, what do we have control over? Because if the dots erase ours and our children's from the verse, the answer is nothing. We don't have control over anything. There is a religious impulse that says Hakol bidei shamayim chutz mirat shamayim, that everything is in the hands of heaven except for fear of heaven, which means we don't choose anything except humility. And that I understand too, because the world can be, as Wordsworth said, too much with us. It is possible. It is possible to say that you and I, friends, you and I don't know anything. And I say with not a laugh, but a sardonic chuckle, a cynical guffaw. What to call this laughter that I feel welling up? What do we say when the world just doesn't make much sense? Well, I'm imagining that had our ancestors had use of technology like we do, they might have had some different language to use, because it is often the case that we just don't know. One of the most brilliant phrases I've ever heard was from the French Jewish philosopher Emmanuel Levinas, who said, every piece of information I gain brings me one step closer to the brink of the abyss of my own ignorance. And we say it in Jewish terms, Reshit Chochma Yirat Adonai. The beginning of real wisdom is feeling humbled by the infinite God. It's true. Do we think we know it all? Of course not. And is one response to political situations correct? Often, no. There was a day that JTS, the Jewish Theological Seminary, used to take out full-page ads in major newspapers just before Rosh Hashanah. And it was always clever and interesting. And the one I remember is, for every complicated problem, there's usually a simple response, which is always wrong. Simple responses are always wrong. And as Rosa is saying, isn't to trust and not give in to fear a choice too? And as Linda just wrote, again, simply, I don't know what I don't know. But there are things we do know. Because the dots may be there, but so too are the words. Human responsibility and agency, of course, as John is saying, to sing, to turn our grief into prayer and our prayer into action, and to do so with hearts that remember how to sing and feet that remember how to dance. We go into these holidays, friends, every year with this verse and this Torah portion. So I would encourage you, friends, I would encourage you to wonder, to ask yourself this question. In the face of chaos, in the face of complexity, who are we in this world? Who do we mean to be in this world? What do we know? Can we be wise enough to be humble and acknowledge that we just don't know everything? Because no matter what you think about the dots, there is the first part of the verse that says, Hanistarot ladonai Eloheinu. The things that are of infinite mystery, God knows. It's true that there are things we just don't understand and won't. People who offer answers to why terrible things happen in the world. What are those answers worth? To give clear theology that this is part of God's plan? I refuse. It's also a Jewish posture to say, no, no, I know that's not right. Maimonides was so careful to never say definitive things about God. He would offer a negative theology. I might not be able to tell you what God is, but I can definitely tell you what God isn't. So let me, in that spirit, friends, say something to that, born of that. Hanistarot ladonai Eloheinu. Hidden things are God's. The answer to the mystery, I just don't know. I don't. I don't. I think about it a lot. I worry about it a lot. I pray on it all the time. I try to channel the best of what I believe God is through me. But to Ron's simple, not simple at all, but well-phrased question, why do bad things happen to good people? I want to refer to my teacher, Rabbi Harold Kushner of blessed memory, who wrote the book, but people misremember the title. They think it's Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People? The title of his book is When Bad Things Happen to Good People. What do we say in the face of that? And that's why the words are still there. Lanu ulvanenu adolam. Some information is accessible. Some knowledge is knowable. And the challenge of the high holidays and the challenge of any religious consciousness is, what do I do with what I know? Let me refer you and close with this very sweet story. It's a very powerful story. You might have heard it. The great Jewish violinist Yitzhak Perlman often, friends, often demonstrates the pinnacle of humanity through his artistic understanding, through his playfulness on Sesame Street, and through what he models as someone who was stricken with polio when he was younger. The importance of vaccines should be remembered every time you think of the grandeur of Yitzhak Perlman. He'd be the first to tell us that. Here's what happened once. He was playing a brilliant and complicated piece, scheduled to perform on his violin with a philharmonic orchestra. A few bars in, one of his strings broke, snapped. It was really just early on in the piece, and he could have stopped. Could have stopped and started again. Everyone would have understood, because some things are out of our control. What did he do instead? He signaled to the conductor to keep playing. And he improvised as best he could, using the strings he had. There are some notes he couldn't hit. What he did was masterful and imperfect. And when he was interviewed afterwards, he said, our job as human beings, as musicians, as artists, as humans, who Heschel said, are called to make our lives a work of art. Our job is to make the most beautiful things possible with what we have. Hanistarot ladonai Eloheinu, vaniglot lanu vanenu adolam. There are some things we just won't know. Sometimes the strings break and we don't know why, but we go on and we make music. I bless us, friends, to remember that it's our job to use what we've got, including knowledge and art and song and dance and spirit and political know-how and strategic strength, infinite care, presence, and to make the most beautiful things possible with what we've got, as long as we get to do it. Send your hearts with me, friends, all the way to the east, because among the things we have access to is deep prayer, and thank God for the strength of this community, endurance. Take a breath, sing a blessing. Let's send our hearts to the east. Kol hod balevav pnima nefesh Yehudi homia ulfatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia. Od lo avda tikvateinu, hatikva bat shnot alpayim, liot am chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim, liot am chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow, my friends.